Mic test 1 2 1 2. All right, welcome to my first project breakdown. Today I'll be breaking down my Tombstone remix for you guys. Quick thing to go over is that I will be showing this project file on two monitors, thus you will see my mouse switch over when I go from my left monitor here to my right monitor, which has my playlist. This will be recorded in sections, so you may want to edit this video. You know, there may be some transitions. I'm not going to sit down and record this in one go. That would not do it justice. So for this section I'm recording, I will be going over the intro and verse slash buildup. There's not really a definite quote-unquote verse here, so I can... These markers on the top here are kind of more so just for keeping, 2, 4, 8, 16 bars in my head all nice and organized. So I'm going to play the intro and build up real quick, and then I will talk about a little bit of the overarching thought that went into composition and how I made this, and then we'll go by element, and I can show you what makes this intro really this intro. Alright, so that is the intro to the build-up, and for starters, I will go top down. As you see in my template here, I have drums to synths to drop basses and FX. Also, the mastering is turned off in this, so it may be a little bit more peaky, a little bit more distorted than what it sounds like in the master, because it is, again, not mastered. So for drums in this intro to the build-up, we have obviously build-up drums here. Here we have the original stem drums that were kind of taiko-ish drums. These are given some processing I did, multipass, compression, reverb for make it more ambient. You'll see standard clip a lot and Pro Q3 a lot in this project. There's probably more standard clips on channels than not. So solo the taiko drums. And these actually fade away in the build-up with a little bit of endless smile. And then the other drums here in the build-up. This is the same kick used in the drop. I think this is just a clap. Yeah, clap. Probably routed to an endless smile bus somewhere. Yeah, it looks like it here. Pretty simple, but your build-up drums don't have to be super complicated to make a good build-up. That's drums. Synths is where this intro really comes together. So at the start, we have a very, very wide up, but still up in front synth. This is the Supersaw AU5 did a tutorial on their YouTube channel for. It essentially uses the chaos modulators and serum to modulate the phase of the Supersaws, which gives them that really angry saw feel. I believe I made this arpeggio myself. I don't think this is in the original. I wanted a original motif that I could put in and out throughout the track. And that's what this is. There's some automation here. Notice if you're not used to this visualizer, the darker blue is the mid channel, the light blue is the side channel. And as this automation happens, this automation here on track 46, you'll notice that how much the sideband is versus the mid will change. If I skip into this section here, you'll see that there's more sideband now, because as the verse comes in, I wanted more room in the midband for other elements to come through and be at the forefront. So this actually gets relegated down to a background element smoothly by automating the mid-side gain, which I believe I can show. Here we go. This is just a simple mid-side split with some automatable knobs. Goes up an octave for the build-up and fades out. And there's also some volume automation on that. Next, this is, shout out to Light Shard. This is a really nice lead he made in Vital that he showed me. It's playing a melody that I think accentuates the spookiness quite well. And again, it's motifable. And then we have verse here. It goes into the chord pattern, which I will go over next. This is just an accentuating element to the chord, like another layer. Build up, goes up an octave, fades out. Simple but effective. This chord progression, if I remember correctly, is not part of the original. I wasn't sad. I didn't like using the chord progression from the original in the intro, so I just made my own, and I think it turned out well. This is Keyscape Goated plugin. And then at the verse, we go from, you know, sustained chords to these, I don't know what the technical word is, but these pattern chords. And this is a Serum synth despite it being on the same playlist track here, but this pattern is from the original song, I do know that. So, and there's a couple layers to this. You have, again, the AU5 Super Saws. You have a like a kalimba kind of thing here. That's again Keyscape, playing the same pattern, and going back to the lead. And there's also this respace I made in Phase Plant with a lot of controllable macros. Actually, this might have been following a tutorial from some YouTube video. I don't remember if this is completely original or not. I do know I at least recreated it though. And that's just playing the bass notes as you can see in the pattern here. And I'll go over in a separate mixing part of this breakdown on how these elements are mixed in the track. So don't worry that I'm not touching on the mixer too much here. So those are the synths in the intro. If I'm going to solo the whole synth bus, for lack of a better term. And despite it be calling synths, there are some non-synth elements like vocals here, and we'll go over those next. But down here, this is just a I believe this is just a. Yeah, that's just a sub down for the intro. I believe this is the same faceplate. Yeah, probably just a little bit tweaked different. Like this is a sine wave instead of a saw wave, I think. That's probably the biggest difference there. And going back up to where the stems come in from the original song, we have a little bit of this. This is mostly just background noise in this intro. Like how much is this even? Like negative 22 dB. I don't even know if you can hear this in my remix or not, but and we do have the original sine lead from the original track, because this is a remix after all. It can't be all original stuffs. In context, it sounds like this. I will bury you! And then we have my favorite part of this remix, probably, is the vocals. I have that's a reverse reverb hit. These vocals are AI generated off of a select couple of clips I have from a metal vocalist for permission to use. And I won't be going into the 11 Labs settings and stuff like that. I won't be showing you the 11 Labs website and the settings I used for that because I will be keeping that to myself. But I'm really proud of how these came out.
I will bury you! I will wipe you off the face of this planet! And when I am done with you, the only proof of your existence I will bury shall be your tombstone!
So, the story behind why these vocals are here is that I looked at the original song, and it's a alright song, but I think it really doesn't take itself to the next level. Like, we have cool spooky chords and stuff like that, but I don't know about you, but when I listen to this song, I feel like there's one element missing that really doesn't take this to the next level of storytelling and being a really memorable track, and that's that the spookiness is not accentuated with storytelling elements, in my opinion. Like, we have a spooky lead, we have spooky chords in the original song and stuff like that, but that's not, to me at least, that's not terribly memorable. So what I wanted to do is I wanted to build and iterate off the original track's premise and what it was trying to do. And for that, in part, I put in these vocals. These vocals are high energy vocals. They tell a story. Like,
I will bury you!
Like, this is a man yelling and screaming, "I will bury you." There is animosity here. There's a fight. There is, energy and emotion and hopefully something memorable. Which is what I really try to convey with these vocals, to give my remix and the overall song a sense of identity and kind of and putting a picture in the listener's head, if that makes sense. And now there's no basses there's no drop basses, as I call them, in the build-up or intro. Well, actually, yeah, not in the build-up. This is the original effect stem. This track 89 here. It's from the original song. We have a couple Keep Forest samples, my beloved Keep Forest samples. Oh, by the way, this first part, all the way until we get to the breakdown, this is 135 BPM, by the way. I forgot to point that out. Because there is actually tempo automation in this song. I really like the signal. In context, it sounds like this. It's kind of hard to hear, but it's those very subtle things that really put the polish on a song, in my opinion, especially when it comes to background effects. We have this build-up thing here. I think this is from the original stems too. Relatively simple. And as for composition and elements in the build-up, from the intro to the build-up, that's about it. I think before the start, I have, like the Keep Forest whooshes in, the Keep Forest sample here. But yeah, so that's that is the intro to the build-up. All right, now that we have covered the intro, verse, and build-up, it's now time to look at the drops. All right. So again, I'm going to go top to bottom, and we'll touch back on a separate portion of this video for the mixing of these elements. But drums first. It seems like Shaperbox has once again messed up my sidechain. So let me, I guess I can go over how I'm sidechaining. I'm sidechaining with Shaperbox. I have a preset here. And I'm using, importantly, an audio trigger for my sidechain. I'm not using MIDI. I'm not using automation clips. I'm using an audio sample trigger. And the specific reason for that is that MIDI out, which is how you trigger sidechain MIDI traditionally in FL Studio, is not properly plug-in delay compensated. MIDI out, if I add a MIDI out, you'll notice that there is no assignable mixer insert to MIDI out, and that is because MIDI out does not go through the mixer, which is where FL Studio does its plug-in delay compensation. So it is prone to getting messed up in timing. And I don't use automation clips, much for the same reason. They're supposed to be plugins delay compensated in the playlist, but sometimes they just aren't. So I use Shaperbox, which very thankfully has an audio input option. And that way I've had no problems with my sidechain timing ever since. This is a Lost Delta kick. If you'll see some samples of LD in the name, those are probably Lost Delta samples, which are very good samples. So, kick, snare, you know the drill, I'm sure. So if I'm to take out the kick and snare, hi-hats, one thing I really like doing on my crashes in the drop is I will put ping pong reverb on them. I just like the stereo space it gives it. This says it's a crash, but this is more like a ride to me. I think this has ping pong reverb on it. There's a couple of reverse crashes in here for the first couple of beats, or first beat of the drop. And there's a little accentuating elements here. What is that? What's the bass playing right there? Yeah, so these claps accentuate this bass that's like playing quarter notes. I just thought it was a nice way to bring the drop more energy. And then we have a little drum fill loop here. It's chopped up a little bit. And these two kicks, they have a little bit of fade on them, so they're a little bit shorter. I don't think, okay, they are sidechained. And on my drop, separate into sections of 4 bars. I think the last 16 or 8 bars of this drop is much the same. Nope, it's not. Okay. I mean the kick and snare pattern's different. But the snare and the rides are largely the same. But we have a little bit of like, I don't know the technical term, but like volume syncopation with these hi-hats. That just brings the flow of the drop. It accentuates the flow of the drop a bit. So those are drums, and I have my sidechain here being triggered on kick and snare. This is original stem. This is an original stem from the original track. And so I have a research. This is my sample I made in another project. And then we have a vocal and this little...
This is your end!
And the drop. And the only other synth thing here is this plays the chord pattern that we found in the intro. It's the same saw, although I think this is on a different mixer insert, so I automate the delay, volume, wet, and the feedback level, which gives it a really cool transition here. And of course, there's like original stem here, and we have another reverse reverb hit going into the violins for the breakdown. But I'll save that for the breakdown. There's another synth layer here. And now we get to the drop basses. Okay. Truth be told, I hate making dubstep at 150 BPM. I think it's boring as hell. Because your good flow is more or less limited to quarter notes, maybe 6 notes. And so that's why this drop is at 135 BPM. I experimented with putting a filtered bass in the build-up. It didn't really work out. So anything past, like all this stuff here, you can basically ignore that automation. I'll play the drops, the basses soloed, I guess, with the sidechain on, so you can hear them in isolation. I'll play it with the sub, I guess. Okay, so there's most of these basses are mine. There's a couple I use a couple Lost Delta samples for stab basses. But these drops are not super complicated. Almost all these basses are Serum. This is an edited Kosori preset, and Kosori is the name Lost Delta used to go by. And then, wow, another Lost Delta preset. I know there's more of mine in the second drop. I wasn't expect. I know this motif should definitely be mine though. Yeah. Okay. What is this playing at? So most of these basses are basically basic shapes. Nothing super complicated, but with enough processing, they'll sound good. And again, we'll go over the mixing stuff later. I'm automating a speed macro here, stab bass, same thing there. This is actually 2 basses. Actually, let me play with the automation so it sounds correct. I like this bass. I really do like this bass, but it is a little lacking in the this is so overcomplicated. Sorry, this patch is overcomplicated. It's a little bit lacking in the low mids. Like I said, this patch is way overcomplicated, but and it's got full macros, and of course this is, I think, just the same bass but edited. Yeah, to be more low end heavy. It just fills it out a little bit. Same basses again. I love this sample. I made that another project. The sub bass is a little bit interesting. I guess I can talk about a little bit. I believe I have the velocity mapped to the non-fundamental harmonics, so I can accentuate as I would like. Like you can see here in the bottom, the velocity is not it's not the same for all the notes, and that's to accentuate the harmonics and how kind of quote unquote beefy the sub is. And second part of this drop. More layering. That might not be my preset. Nope, again, Kosori bass. This is a nice bass. Has a nice texture to it, layered with this bass. This bass here is mostly just adding like stereo width texture, I guess. And then I think these two are layered, yep. A little growl here. And what I really like about the outro of this drop is that this right here. Remember I told you the chord pattern plays here with the synths? Well, I took the growl and I simply just set the LFO to off. And that gave it a really cool flow to the ending of the drop there. I recommend you try playing around with turning the LFO to off and just, you know, play some notes in sequence like that. I think it gives cool patterns and cool flow that could be explored a bit more. And most of these macro automations are basically labeled, are named appropriately. So I'm not going to go over each and every single one of them. That would be kind of boring. Effects. What? You can't have a good drop without good effects. So a couple of lost delta presets, actually only one, which is the siren. I think this is actually pitched down from what it normally is. Yeah, I have it pitched down, and then in the second half, I think it goes back up. It goes up 600 cents. I have a course crowd cheering sample. A downlifter. More lasers. Even more lasers. Original stem. Original laser, which I think I high passed this. No? Yeah, I high passed this because it was a little bit too bassy. And then for the second half of the first drop, it's much the same. I am automating the pitch on these, two of these upwards. Kind of as a almost an uplifter in and of itself. And now we get to the breakdown. I love the effects of the transition with the effects into the breakdown. So, we have a long downlifter from the original stem, a long uplifter from Cube Forest, my beloved. More Cube Lifter uplifter, or Cube Forest uplifter, excuse me. A little ambient signature bender right there. Some percussion to keep tempo, which by the way is automating at this section, I believe. Yeah, you can see this goes from 135 to 140 in this section, and over this breakdown here. What is this? Oh, this is just like a siren. Literally a Cymax preset. Reputation in Ruins. I think this was like, excuse me. I think this was like I tried to do some granular pad processing, but it was kind of a mess, so I just sampled it and then I stretched it because that sounded better. So those are the effects which really make that breakdown / transition. And then there's no drop basses in that section, although there is a filter outward at the end of the drop. Simple. Drums. Again, we have crashes with ping pong delay on them. lot of Lost Delta samples. I could have done it with like Perfect Drums 3, but honestly, these sound just as good, and I kind of prefer doing drums in audio clips for the most part. Again, shout out Lost Delta. You got snares, and it's important that these snares are not like this, right? Because you want them to, a real snare rings out, right? So there's a reason why they're not cut short, even though it looks like basically you only need like what, this much. And then for synths in this breakdown, we have violin, which is not technically a synth, but I put it in the synth bus anyway. Again, that gets transitioned with a reverse reverb hit. It's kind of quiet, but again, like all these automation clips are basically labeled and named appropriately, so it should be pretty intuitive what they are. Like this is automating the volume / gain. This is a delay dry wet. This sample here, what exactly is this again? Oh yes, I took this the contact library and then I made a crescendo and sampled that and automated some reverb on it. You know, get that spookiness. And this is a this sample is a reverse reverb hit, but it's of the electric guitar doing a shoot. Is it pinch harmonics? I don't remember the exact name for it. But these guitars are a Shred 3 Hydra. And I have a panning. Which layered with this sounds pretty cool. I really love this reverse hit here. So that is basically it for the breakdown. What is this? Oh, that's a sub boom. This might be this might be the same faceplant preset. Yep, as we saw in the intro. All right. Now the metal drop, probably my favorite part of this track, and I'm really proud of how this mixdown came out. Starting with drums. For the love of God, don't put a dubstep snare for your metal drop, please. Just don't. There's a like these snares. Dubstep snares and EDM snares don't have the room processing on them, and if you did put room processing on them, it would probably sound kind of bad. So these are kicks from the Lost and samples from the Lost Delta sample pack, which I don't think is public. I did a couple of private lessons of Lost Delta, and he taught me a lot of incredibly useful stuff for electric guitar stuff, and he also gave me samples. So I don't know if this pack is public or if it will be public or whatever, but you could use contact libraries to basically find samples like this and use those instead. So I'm going to solo the kick and snare. But there's also a splash, I guess. If I was to solo everything but the kick and snare, you'll notice that there is panning going on via an LFO tool, which I guess we'll go back over and talk about when we do the mixdown portion of this video. But there isn't like a super specific reason I can point out to why I set it out like this, other than I thought it sounded good. And again, these samples are not cut short because that's important for metal. You want it to ring out like it's, you know, in a real room. And now we go to the synths, which includes electric guitar. So I wrote this riff, I think that's what it's called. And there's two main layers. There's the guitars and then there's the angry saw, which the latter which I'll play first. And again, we have velocity mapping here to the gain in this case. There's an alpha automation clip automating the stack knob, which is basically just how much the tuning is going on. It gives it some nice movement to it. Also, an endless smile washout at the end. What is still playing? Oh, these are still. I guess I'll just mute these for now. Hopefully I don't forget to unmute them, lol. Now the electric guitars, which I am super proud of how well I mixed these. Again, these are Shreddage 3 Hydra, I believe. And the bass guitar is, I think, Shreddage 2. Yep. Everything you see here, G1 and below, is key switching. So I think this might be palm mute. This is probably pinch harmonics or whatever it's called. There's also some, of course, velocity shenanigans going on to make it sound like a real guitar. There's also, I used the, what's it called? Yeah, the humanized script in the piano roll. If you zoom in really far, you see these are not perfectly on grid and stuff. It's because real guitar players don't play perfectly. We also have some pitch bending here. That at the end is the most evident. That's also pitch bending with the bass guitar. Some more endless smile washout, and we also so about the standard clip, which is this is a little bit of a mixing thing, but it's also a bit compositional because on the higher pitches, it tends to be louder, or it tends to be softer, depending on the timbre of the instrument, right? So I'm automating the, it says the softness, but it's basically the distortion or saturation on these electric guitars with some of these notes so that they stay more consistent throughout the riff, because when playing with everything, I found that some notes were kind of getting lost in the background. And so that's why I added that automation clip here, and I did it, you know, as need be. Effects for the drop, it's kind of similar to the dubstep drop in that we have sirens and crowd noise. So downlifter, crowd noise. Siren. What is this? What is strange filter automation? Also, this is a vacuum cleaner in the background. I hope my mic is not picking that up. If it is, my apologies. This is a, oh, okay, this is an Ahi preset. What is this macro automating? Ah, the reverb filter, okay. And the second part of the metal drop, there's some uplifters added. All right, well, that brings us to verse 2. All right, at the time of verse 2, I know I stopped to look at the project, and I was, how do I want to phrase this? I was worried that it did not contain enough of the original track. I feel like it had built off of the original track really well, but at the same time, it's still a remix, right? So I'm like, okay, how can I keep the direction of the track going strong, and kind of recenter the track as a remix. And this is where the sign, like this, I say verse 2 here, I guess I'll just call it verse 2. This MIDI is from the original track, but this is my own synth playing it. I know it says saw lead. It used to be a saw. I used a sign here. And I have the pitch of the note mapped to the gain a little bit, because when I was going the octave up, it was a little bit too loud, and then mixed down. And that sign has a little electric guitar layer on it. Okay, with a couple of key switches. So there's like very little drums here. I have a little bit of like a hi-hat with delay on it. Again, I think this is a ping pong delay. I love me some ping pong delay. We have, again, original stem drums. You basically get the point. There's a little fill here. Original. I also had a Reese. This fades in over time, because I did feel like it was a little empty for how long it went on. So this is relatively quiet in the mix, but it is there. And then I manual these vocal chops quite a bit, but they're still definitely recognizable. I love me some Bitspeak, one of my favorite effects, and that I really love this transition here. Effects, it's pretty light comparatively. The downlifters, you have a little bit of the concert hall crowd. Again, original stem zaps there. Now we get to the build-up. I really love this build-up, honestly, because one of the benefits of having the second verse like it is, this is relatively quiet, right, compared to the rest of the song. Like if I go to the metal drop, right, that's like easily negative 2.9 short term, but this verse, it's quiet comparatively. And this brings us up a topic I think doesn't get discussed enough. A lot of dubstep producers, they push their masters because they want to be loud. And it's not inherently wrong, but we forget that... I'll give an example. If your entire track is pinned at -2 LUFS, then what's going to happen is that the listener's going to play it, and they're going to be like, wow, this is loud, and they're going to turn it down. And congrats, you've just compressed the crap out of your master for nothing. Loudness is not just about being loud. It is also about contrast to what is quiet, aka what is not loud, right? Because a brick sausage waveform that is pinned at a loud value is not going to seem loud after 30 seconds. Your listeners or ears adjust to these loud sounds. So by putting contrast and dynamics into the track, you can achieve better loudness, even if it does not technically quote unquote measure as loud. And that's what the second verse serves for me here. It's relatively quiet because we come off the heels of, big energetic drop to 8-bar breakdown to 16-bar big energetic metal drop. Woo, right? Like ear fatigue is a real thing with listeners, and you have to be cognizant of that when when composing the layout of your track, if you really want to take it to the next level. And you will see as we transition to the build-up here, you actually still have that quietness.
You took everything from me! Your greed, your avarice, left nothing behind but broken homes! And now I'll bury you beneath an unnamed tombstone!
Like, imagine how much less that drop would hit if it didn't have this kind of more quiet to suspenseful build up here, and if it was all just boom, 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 boom all the time, right? That's something important I'd like to point out to producers, is that, you know, don't just crank the master limiter and you know, to get the loudness, right? You have to be, it all comes to that, back down to the mixing and composition stage if you want real professional polish. So build up here is actually not a whole lot of drums going on. We got the original stem taiko drums. And then we have this pumpy kick build up. Going back down the synths, we have some of the vocals from the original track. Also, you have the stabs. These background stabs play a significant portion in keeping the energy.
Left nothing behind but broken homes, and now I'll bury you beneath an unnamed tombstone.
Again, these vocals are awesome in my opinion.
Everything from me, your greed, your avarice, left nothing behind but broken homes, and now I'll bury you beneath an unnamed tombstone.
Yeah, and you'll notice that like, there's a lot of, you probably can't tell because these file names are so long, but there's a lot of iterations I went through to get to mix and match intonation and timing and everything like that to make these vocals as good as they can be. They're not perfect.
And now I'll bury you.
Like this section here.
I'll bury you.
And soloed, it sounds a bit weird, but in the build-up, honestly, it's fine when it's not soloed.
You took it.
And we have automation of the reverb. Comb filter, that's a stereo widening technique thing. Gain is self-explanatory. Going back to, are these actually doing anything? Okay, we do have a little bit of a filtered build-up bass here, which that's just the same as this ending here, basically. Effects for the build-up. It's actually mostly original stems. I think this EQ down here is just dampening the high end a little bit as the build-up goes on of those effects. All right, I guess now it's time for drop 2. I'll start with the drums. These are NASCO samples. Pretty, I mean, they're drums. You know, there's no crazy syncopation going on here. There's no insane processing. I mean, it's just quality samples, creative placement for the most part, you know, without being too avant-garde, right? And solid mixing really just is what you need. This kick is actually from this kick right here. It's from the first drop, but I turned it down as a kind of a ghost kick. Okay, that is being sidechained apparently. And we have some Vox stems and the synth stabs from the original track. Nothing crazy going on there. Basses. Woo. Again, this drop is at 140 BPM as opposed to the first drop being at 135? Yeah, 135. I will not be showing this bass preset because it is, in my opinion, a specialty. This is the same sound I used in my track Dead. I love the sound. I think it's kind of layered. I'll show you this one. This is just a bass preset. This is just a variation. Sometimes instead of automating a speed macro, I'll just clone this serum because I'm lazy. Yep, so that's basically that drop. So the sub is technically different, I think, from the first drop. Maybe. I mean, again, I have the velocity map to the additional harmonics to the sub, so I can have more control of it. This is one of my favorite bass samples I've ever made. I think this is shaved, right? On preset. Oh. Yeah. Honestly, I kind of pride myself on my sound design, and I really like the basses in the song overall. This is a variation of Push Me, which appears in the first drop. Again, layered. This is another one of my old bass presets. This one's probably like circa 2018. Oh, and if you see these blue serum simple, if you see a macro say simple, that's it's a macro for some secret sauce stuff that I won't be going over in this video, but is integral to quote unquote my sound, which is kind of a bit speak, not bit speak, kind of yo-ish sound, like most apparent in the first drop. Like you hear that downsampled-esque sound. These the simple macro here is doing stuff with that. This is similar to the Skrillex growl from the first drop. And then I also have another reverse reverb stab for the bass that comes in here. This is a wet growl, aptly named in the track as wet growl. I think this is a Lost Delta preset. Yeah. This bass was just exactly what I needed for this section. This is an edited Lost Delta preset. I know for a fact this is not exactly the original preset. I love the high-end texture on that. I love that bass fill right here. Again, another sample from a prior project. What is this? Is this anything of... Yeah, I think that was just a sidechain print or something. Also, I have some reverb throws going on here, and this playlist track. Words escape me. English is hard sometimes. I have a drum fill. This actually is using, I think, might be the same patch from the first drop. When I was trying to finish this remix, this last 8 bars gave me hell. I could not find a good drop to finish it off. This is like just one of like the 1 out of 4 things I tried. In fact, I'll even unmute this. And what even is this? It's probably bad. Yeah, so it's safe to say that I was just kind of done trying to finish this drop. So I used some sounds that I used earlier, but to me it still sounds definitely good enough. And for the last 2 bars here, we have the same kind of LFO off re-triggering that we do at the end of the first drop. And playing that chord pattern again as kind of going back to that motif. This drop is 32 bars long, so I do change up the effects in here. It's not hugely different, but there are some switching out of effects in here. I have uplifters. The outro is pretty simple, downlifters plus rain, thunder. If we look at the album art, which I can pull up. Where is the album art? It is rainy, so I like that consistency. Since we have a violin making an appearance again. And we have a children's choir with, so my favorite reverb is Adaptive Verb by Synaptic, but it has at least like 1/3 of a second latency per instance. So I printed this to audio, the violins that is with the Adaptive Verb. A very pretty reverb. And we have the children's choir. And these bottom notes here are like vowel key switches, I believe. A simple like sine lead, again, to accentuate that melody from the original. This song was getting kind of long, so I only did the last 8 bars of the melody from the original track instead of the full 16 bars. One thing I'll point out is I like the drums, how the second drop ends. And that's about it for composition of the track. So I guess next we'll go over mixing this massive behemoth, which I used literally every single mixer insert to do. This project took approximately 32 hours to make. So, and a lot of that was mixing. So we'll go over that next.